Okay, for those of you that are new to this, basically what happens is you guys can say something in all chat, and I will try and help you figure out how to go through the step of this. And so I'm doing anything, whether it's one of the ones that are for credit or for extra credit. But real fast, I had someone send me some stuff in advance that they want me to go over, and they won't be here, so I'm putting it at the beginning of the VOD so that they can look at it later. And that is steps 2 and steps step 7 and step 8 from, hold on. This looks like it is not the up-to-date version of this document that I finished, which is strange. But that's okay, I can get it. So, anyway, though, what I do need to work on is problem 7 and problem 8 from that. So if you'll give me just a minute, I will go retrieve the proper file. Chapter 9. Chapter 9, problem solve. Results. View. Download submitted file. Odd, it's like it doesn't update. Or am I just stupid and I'm not? Oh my god, I'm dumb. Okay, no, it's up to date. It was up to date in the first place. Okay. Anyway, problem number 7 is in cell F3, use the left and find function to extract the street address from column B. Okay, and then you have to use the proper for to make sure it's in the correct case. So the first thing when you're doing any of these is that everything is going to be nested in the proper because you want to find the result, right? And then you want to make sure that it's in the correct case, whether it's uppercase or lowercase and all of that. So you don't want to check for uppercase and lowercase before you find the final answer. So you do everything else first, and the way to do everything else first is to put everything else inside of it. So the way the left function works, if you take a look at this, is that you find the text that you want to pull from, and then the number of characters you want to pull from it. And so the way that you do that is, so obviously we want to take from column B, which is address. That's what this structured reference to address refers to, right? Is this, and then what happens then is to get the number of characters is going to be different for anybody, right? Right? Like, so you can see here with all these addresses that it's going to be different. But the one thing they do have in common is that they have a comma after the street address, right? So you want to start at the comma, and so the way you do that is through this find function. And so let's take a closer look at if we take a closer look at the find function, you can see that we're finding the comma, that's why it's in quotes, and we're finding it within the address thing. And so you can see here that that leads to the find is the 15th that's the 15th character in this scenario. So basically, so you can see here that basically what's going to happen is the number of characters will resolve to 15. But the thing is, it reads from the start of a text string, so if we do 15 characters, it will include the comma, and we don't want the comma. So the way to get rid of the comma is to just subtract one from the find formula in every scenario. So you can see here that it returns 14 characters in this scenario. And then if you look at another one, it returns, pull up, it returns 15 characters. So the address was 16 characters along with the comma and 15 characters along without the comma. So that's how that one works. And moving on to step 8, in cell G3, use the mid, len, and find functions to extract the city name from the address. Now this one's probably the hardest part of the entire thing. So, as you can see here, if you look at the formula bar, it is pretty complicated. Basically, here's what's going on. So the mid starts at a given point in a text and reads a specified number of characters. So the text is obvious. It's the address, as it has been. The start number is a little bit more complicated. We want to start where we can do Milan in this case, right? So the way we do that is we look for a space. So we start at a space. But the problem is here, this will make more sense if I pull it up, right? So we're looking for a space within address, but the start number is after the comma. So we use that thing from earlier, where we found the comma to use the number of characters. Basically what this does is it looks for a space within the address, but it doesn't start looking for a space until after the comma. So obviously in this case, if you look over at the address, the first space after the comma is where we want to be. So that's how we do that. But then we want to add one character to that start number, because we don't want to start after the space, we want to start after the space. And then the question becomes, how many characters do we want to read? Well, what you do here is you use len to find out how many characters are in this particular address, and then you subtract the street address. And so basically what happens here is we're subtracting 1880 Atkins Road from 1880 Atkins Road, Milan, New Mexico. And then we subtract 5 across the board. So the question is, why do we subtract 5 across the board? Well, if you get rid of all of this Atkins Road stuff, what you're left with is a comma, a space, another space, and the letters New Mexico. That's 5 characters. And those 5 characters are the same across all the addresses. So you want to get rid of the comma, the space, the second space, and New Mexico. Those are the characters you don't want to read. So you subtract 5 from the total amount of characters to read. So the bottom line is, you look at address, you start at the M, and then you subtract 5 characters. And so that will get you where you need to go. I know that was a little bit complicated. It's definitely not clear until you get the answer right? But hopefully if you play around with this bit, it'll make sense. So somebody sent that in to me, so like I said, just putting that at the beginning of this stream. So, yeah. won't let me comment, but could you go after Chapter 3, Problem 1, Step 8? Okay. Boy, let me try and find... Oh, good, there's only one Chapter 3. Okay. And then Step 8. Chapter 3, Step 8. In cell B21, enter a function that will calculate the monthly payment for the loan amount in cell B18 based on the annualized rate and the number of years in the term in cell B20 display the monthly payment as a positive value. Okay. Yeah, I remember this one. Okay, B21. So let's go over there. So you can see here, this is the formula, and I'll open up my box and we'll explain it. So it says to calculate a monthly loan payment based on a given rate. So the annualized rate is in cell B19, and it's important that you reference the cell because the cell, it says 6% here, but it's actually not quite 6%. If I remember correctly, it's 6.5%. But this is an annualized rate, and you want monthly payments, so you need to divide B19 by 12. And then you need, it's for 5 years, right? But so basically what happens is you have to make that months too. So in this case, you divide by 12. Here, you multiply by 12 to get 60 months or 5 years. And the present value of the loan is $125,000. Now remember, it has to display as a positive value. And so the way you do that is by setting the present value to negative, which when you think about it makes sense because what happens is in a loan, right? When you pay for a loan, right, and you have a loan on your account, that's a liability to the company. That's not money that they have, that's money that they owe. So that's something negative. So you just set that positive, this amount of the loan, you just can set it to negative, and that makes a payment of $2,387.65 rounded. And I hope that answers your question, Kennedy. I don't know why you can't comment in the live chat, but that's strange. Let me know if you work Chapter 5, Problem 1. Okay, Chapter 5, Problem 1. You're gonna have to be more specific. Set 12, I think. Step 12. Okay, so Chapter 5, Problem 1, Step 12. Okay. That is doable. Chapter 5, Problem Solve 1, Step 12. Now this is the one about the call center. Step 12, if statement for E6. If statement on E6. Okay, cool. So basically what they want you doing here is if the number of calls on issue is greater than 3 and the number of calls on hold is greater than 2, you want to check the hold issue. Otherwise, you want to do nothing. So basically, what's going on here is, remember the if statement checks the if statement, what it does is it checks a logical test, and then if it's true, it returns the true value. If it's false, it returns the false value. but you have two things that you want to check, and they both have to be true in order for the thing to resolve to true. So that's the purpose of the AND function. With the AND function, you can put down any number of logical tests, and they all have to resolve to true in order for the single logical test here to resolve to true. So basically, you want it to make sure that the number of calls on hold is greater than 3, and the number of calls on or the number of calls on issue is greater than 3, and the number of calls on hold is greater than 2. In this top case right here, 4 is greater than 3, 3 is greater than 2, so it will return check hold issue, and you put it in quotes because it's a text string. And then the way to return nothing as a text string is just an empty set of double quotes. So that's what goes on here. So you can see here, 0 is not greater than 3, 0 is not greater than 2, 3 is not greater than 3, 1 is not greater than 2, and 2 is not greater than 3, and 0 is not greater than 2. So actually, none of the conditions are met. Like, not even one of the conditions is met for any of these others right here. Only this first one has both conditions met. Does that answer your question, Catherine? Oh, wait. Oh, step 9. Oh, okay, my bad. Sorry, I haven't had a chance to see that yet. Yeah, let me switch to step 9. Add formulas that will summarize the issue for the department in B3 on call center report. Okay. So B3. Oh, okay, my bad. So, in cell B6, add an index function. Okay. Okay, so basically what they want you doing here is let me just sort of take a look at this. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're referencing B3 indirectly. And basically what that does is, so see how the contents of B3 are financial aid? It's not cell B3 that we want to reference, it's the named range financial aid that we want to reference. So the way that we do that is we put B3 inside of an indirect formula. So basically what this indirect formula is doing is it's redirecting B3 to not be the reference, but rather the named range financial aid to be the reference. And it wants to return the value from the row number A6, which is 1. So if we look back at the lists and you see here that the financial aid named range refers to this set right here. So notice how there's only one column, which is why we don't have to put in a column number, and we want to return for row 1, which is internet. So as you can see here on call center report, the issue it returns is internet. And then when you copy that down, it matches the stuff from the rest of the named range. Does that answer your question, Catherine? Sorry that I explained the wrong problem. Awesome. I'm glad that that helped. considering that I haven't seen any signs of life in like the past 15 minutes, I'm gonna call it here. Um, if you come looking for me, you are welcome to text me, and I will do what I can. But I'm gonna go do some more unproductive things if no one else is here. So, cheers.